Hi, I'm Matt Jackson working with Gym Club Solutions, and today we're going to be filming a video tutorial on how to teach a Hect dive roll. Okay, when teaching the Hect dive roll, the prerequisite skills we want the gymnast to be able to do is a good solid handstand, a handstand forward roll, and a dished dive forward roll. Okay, when looking at the Hect dive roll, we need to look at the flexibility, so the range of shoulder movement for the gymnast to make the two shapes whilst they're passing through the dive roll in the air. One will be an arch and one will be a dish. So today we're going to show those two with different variations. We have a band and we have a stick. So if you don't have a stick in the gym, you can use a band as well. So we can show the opening and closing of the shoulder angle whilst making the shape change in the air. So gymnast will hold the band. We want the gymnast to open their shoulder angle and then push tall and bring their ribs in round in their chest. These two positions will be shown clearly when you do a Hect dive roll. Okay, we're now going to look at flexibility and physical preparation for teaching the Hect dive roll. Okay, so the first exercise we're going to look at now for body preparation and shape change is going to be using a block today and the gymnast, and we're going to look at the courbette shape change. So we're going to look at showing a nice tight arch position and then snapping the chest into a tall dish position. These two shapes again will be shown throughout a Hect dive forward roll. Okay, so the gymnast is going to start standing facing the block. We want a nice tall extended position through the body. The gymnast is going to stand on their toes, open their shoulder angle, and then we're going to bring their chest in and reach tall. We can do this multiple times, so the gymnast feels the shape change, snaps their chest in, one more, arms, and snap. Okay, so we're now going to look at the next preparation for the Hect dive roll. So today we're going to use two blocks. We've raised the blocks up slightly from the floor so that the gymnast feels like they're in the flighted position in their dive roll. Again, we're going to make a Hect action now, so we're going to do an arch and a dish. Today I'm going to support the gymnast just lightly around their core to help them. If you haven't got higher blocks like this, you could always do this on lower blocks on the floor. So if the gymnast's tummy touches the floor, it's not going to hurt them. So they can move cleanly between an arch and a dish position. So here today we're going to ask the gymnast to lift their hands off the block and their heels and then press down and snap their chest in. Okay, and again, so arms and heels and snap. Good girl, one more. Arms and press. Good. Okay, it's important to make sure that when we're doing this that the gymnast can perform 5 to 10 repetitions of this cleanly, so that when we're then taking off and moving at speed in the Hect dive roll, the gymnast can cleanly move between these shapes safely. Okay, another nice progression we can use for the body preparation for the Hect dive roll is to raise the gymnast's feet up. So today we're going to use a beam with a nice soft pad on it for the gymnast to rest their shins against. The hands are going to go on the floor and we've placed a red mat in front just for their vision. So we want the gymnast to be lifting their chin up to create a nice tight arch position when they're starting their Hect dive roll. So we're going to also make the shape change now whilst on the beam. So the gymnast is going to kick up to handstand, put their thighs against the beam or their shins here, lift their chin up, so we've got vision of the mat. We want the gymnast then to make a nice tight arch position and change shape. So chin lifts, hips drop, heels lift, and then we snap again. Very good. The coach can just be here just in case they need it, in case they fall. The gymnast should be able to start to perform these elements on their own now, making a nice strong courbette action. Okay, the next preparation we're going to use is using the slope today with a big soft mat. The idea of this is we're going to get the gymnast to lay on the slope with their chest hanging off so they can hold their shoulder angle open and their chin lifted like they will do on the takeoff position for their Hect dive roll. I'm then going to hold the gymnast's legs to help increase their rotation as they roll over onto the mat. So this should simulate the shapes that we're going to see in the Hect dive roll, but at a lower level, making it nice and safe before we start taking off and jumping into this phase. Go. That's it. Try and do straight arms for me. Yeah? Okay, when teaching the Hect dive roll, another nice exercise we can use for body preparation and conditioning is to do some dorsal raises. So this is to encourage the gymnast to be strong, lifting their heels on the takeoff for the Hect dive roll. Today we're going to use the pommel horse. The gymnast is going to have their arms extended in front of them, holding the handle with their chin lifted. We want the gymnast to have their chin lifted whilst their heels are lifting in the Hect dive roll to counter rotate it. So when they do the Hect dive roll, if the heels come too high and the chest drops, we're going to rotate too much, ending up landing on their back. We want the gymnast to land safely through a handstand and then roll. So this gives them vision of where they should be doing with their arms extended in front, and then we want the gymnast to lift their heels up into that nice tight arch position. Okay, and the gymnast can do this multiple times, so it can be 5, 10, 15 repetitions of this. Okay, so you should now understand how to teach and prepare your gymnast for the Hect dive roll position. So we've now looked at courbette actions and strengthening and shapes for the technique. Now we're going to move on how to teach how to take off and move through the preparations of doing the Hect dive roll. Okay, so when starting to teach the takeoff for the Hect dive roll, we're going to look at using the trampet and the block today. This is to simulate the heel drive and the head position that we want the gymnast to start to feel when they're taking off. So when doing a Hect, the heels are going to lead with the chest lifted, so we make that nice tight arch position in the air before we change into a dish and roll out. So this is one of the exercises we're going to use today. So we're going to ask the gymnast to put their hands on the block. We want the gymnast's vision to be forward, so their chin is slightly lifted, and we're going to look at the gymnast driving their heels into a nice tight arch position. Okay? So again, we can see the chin is lifted, the legs are tight and the heels are lifting. So we're exaggerating those positions that we want the gymnast to feel when they're taking off for their Hect dive roll. Good girl. Okay. Okay, now, so when starting to teach the gymnast how to take off and hold the right position for the Hect dive roll, today we're going to use a block and a wedge. The reason I've done this is so that the gymnast can take off with their chin lifted, land on the wedge on their chest, so the block is now supporting the gymnast. We're going to hold the gymnast around their belly and on their legs so we can help them lift their heels up to the right position. We want the gymnast to try and hold their hands off the wedge when they land on here so that we're simulating the nice tight arch position in the air. We don't want the gymnast to drop their arms too early, thus creating too much rotation, and again the gymnast spinning around to land on their back. So we're going to try this setup today so you can see how it works. Okay, the next preparation we're going to move on to is using a block. Today we've got a soft springboard on the top and a soft landing mat. This is to simulate now moving into the actual Hect dive roll. So the gymnast is going to take off, land with their chest onto the edge of the block with their hands held high, and then immediately move and change shape into the dive forward roll. So this simulates the motion and feeling the shapes of the Hect dive roll. This is a little bit lower to start off with, and then we can build the height of this also as they get stronger and they can jump higher into their Hect positions. Thanks for watching our video tutorial today on Hect dive roll. Hopefully now you should understand the physical preparation, the flexibility, the key preparations, and then make sure when you're doing the exercises that you give technical feedback to the gymnast from everything we've done today. Make sure when you're supporting the gymnast, you're clearly supporting them around their core, on their belly and their legs to hold the right positions, and then guide them into their forward roll safely afterwards.